Hi guys, my name is Megan and today I've got some Pride recommendations for you. Alright, so June is Pride Month. So I figured since this is one of the last videos I'm putting up in May, I figured I would give you some book recommendations in case you're looking for Pride books or books for Pride to read. And I'm not going to go into too many details because I think there are 15-ish books that we're going to go through. So I'll give you very brief little recommendations, but I have talked about almost all of these books in other videos. And if you've been around a while, they probably won't be something new to you, but let's go ahead and just dive right in. So we're actually going to go like LGBTQ plus order. So the first two books I would like to talk about are sapphic or lesbian books. The first one is Scapegracers. This is a YA book following Sideways Pike, who is kind of an outcast loner, and she has these magical powers, and the popular girls kind of adopt her and they want her to do some magic at a pre-Halloween party. Things go kind of wrong. It's very sapphic and I love these girls. They are very unhinged. The next book I'd like to recommend is Honey Girl. So this one is another sapphic book. This one is adult. This is the kind of messy millennial quarter-life crisis book that you didn't know you needed. This follows Grace Porter as she is finishing up her doctorate degree and going to Las Vegas to celebrate, and she ends up married to a woman that she barely knows, and she goes to New York to find this girl and see if they can work out this new relationship. So the first book I'd like to recommend for books with gay or Achillean characters is Running with Lions. This is another YA book. This follows Sebastian, who is bi, and he's the goalie on the soccer team for his school, and it is going into his senior season, and they are doing their summer training camp, and his childhood best friend, Amir, shows up at training camp, and they haven't spoken in years and years and years because they had a falling out. Like, Sebastian really wants this team to do well, so they are kind of reconnecting and feelings start happening, and it's so sweet. I also really love this one because it deals with some eating disorders in boys as well as like body image issues in boys. The next book for a gay or Achillean character I would recommend is Bite Me. This one is a chunk of a book, but it is fantastic. As well as Blair, who is kind of running away from a very abusive home life to a town that he grew up in, where he realizes he has inherited his parents' house. And it also follows Richard, who is a vampire, and the town that they live in is filled with supernatural creatures that Blair does not realize. It's a really great book. It's got a lot going on. It's got so many different subplots, but it also has some really beautiful like artwork for chapter headers. Yeah, if you just love drama, this is a book to check out. It's got so much going on and it's just, I ate it up. It's fantastic. Okay, so next up is the books for bi characters. So like I said, Running with Lions does kind of count towards this one as well. Next up, I would like to recommend for a bi character is I'll Be the One. This follows Sky Shin, who is a fat man character. She's also bi, and she loves singing and dancing, and she's going to try out to be a K-pop star on an idol searching show. She is going to prove everybody wrong for telling her she can't do something simply because of her size. The love interest in this is also bisexual, so that's fantastic. There's also a couple of other side characters that are queer. Actually, all of these books have side queer characters, so it's also great representation. The next book I'd like to recommend for a bisexual main character is Handpicked. So this one has a character figuring out that they're bisexual later in life. They are a single parent and they kind of fall for their son's teacher, and it's such a really sweet romance. It's also got Gilmore Girls vibes, so definitely want to check out. Okay, so next up we have T, which stands for trans. I'm also going to be including non-binary characters in here too. The first book I would like to recommend is Cheer Up. This is following a trans girl who is a cheerleader and her former best friend who is joining the cheerleading squad as they reconnect and fall in love, or just a little bit. And the artwork in this is truly fantastic. I also love that the transphobia in this book gets called out and dealt with in a really great way, and I love that these two characters start bonding again and like feelings maybe start to happen, and they also have a really great group of girls that are just rooting for them. And so the next book for a trans main character that I would like to recommend is Felix Ever After. This follows Felix as they are going through their summer art program, and somebody is starting to spread pictures of them before they transitioned as well as their dead name, and like it's Felix trying to figure out who's doing that, but also trying to figure out their love life and if the feelings that they're feeling about their body are still the same, and trying to figure out what to label themselves as. And it's just a really, really great book. This one will have you in tears. It's fantastic, and I highly, highly recommend it, especially if you're looking for something summery to read. This is definitely the one. So next up we have non-binary characters, which fall under the trans umbrella. The first book I'd like to recommend is Mooncakes. So this follows Nova Huang, who is a witch with a hearing impairment, as they find their childhood best friend, Tam, who is a werewolf, kind of in their yard unexpectedly and is being chased by a witch. And Tam is non-binary, or trans non-binary, and like it's an adventure of them trying to figure out what's happening. The art style is so cute and colorful and just so queer. The next non-binary character book I would like to recommend is Love and Other Disasters. This follows Delilah, who is going through a really rough divorce, but she also is kind of having her culinary dreams come true as she's getting on this cooking competition show that's very much like MasterChef, I think. This also follows London Parker, who has just come out as non-binary on national television and is trying to raise awareness and funds for a queer charity that they just started. And they both have this kind of like meet awkward, and then they just kind of start bonding over snarky comments about the judges on the show and the other contestants. So next up is Q, which is for queer, and all of these books count as queer, but I'm also going to be using Q as queer platonic relationships. So these are some of my favorite books that have queer platonic relationships in them. The first being If It Makes You Happy. So this book follows Winnie, who is a plus-size girl, and she is spending her last summer with her grandma before she goes off to college, and helping her run her diner, which she really wants to run in the future, in this very tiny town where her best friend happens to live. And they have kind of figured out that they are queer platonic life partners. So they kind of have this queer platonic relationship, and like they will always be in each other's lives. And I love the support and love that these two characters have for each other. Okay, so my next queer platonic relationship book that I would like to recommend is one that I haven't stopped talking about basically since I read it. And if you're not new to the channel, this is not new to you, but if you are new to the channel, it is the Tarot Sequence, or the first book is The Last Sun. I do have a full video on why you should read this book and the series. I will leave that linked above. But this book has one of the best queer platonic relationships I've ever seen. Like, hands down, every character in this book is queer, and like they're all fantastic. Would highly, highly recommend it if you're looking for an urban fantasy book with like a tarot-based magic system. This is one to check out. Also, please check trigger warnings before you dive in. And last but certainly not least are some of my favorite ace, arrow, or demisexual characters. The first book I'd like to recommend for you is On the Ice. This book has a demisexual main character. So this follows Mitch Grayson, who is a college hockey player, and he is determined to get on an NHL team right out of college. And it also follows Alex Dean, who is an NHL defenseman who happens to be on leave to deal with some family medical issues. And Alex is a guest lecturer at Mitch's college for a little while, and they kind of hit it off as best friends. Mitch kind of has a crush on Alex, but Alex is demisexual, so he is really not interested in a one-night stand. So they kind of strike up this friendship, and feelings happen, and it's fantastic. The next book I'd like to recommend is a book that has an arrow, ace, and a gender character. And that is the Murderbot Diaries. This follows Murderbot, who is a construct made up of both computer parts as well as human parts. And they've kind of taken over they hacked their governor module, so they don't really have to do what their company tells them to, but they kind of keep it quiet, and all they really want to do is watch their soap operas and their shows and be left alone. And then the last book for an ace character I would like to recommend is the Foxhole Court, or the All for the Game series. This follows Neil Jostin, who is our ace main character, or demisexual main character, and he is the newest addition to the Palmetto State University XC team, which XC is a made-up sport. It's kind of like a cross between lacrosse and hockey and like rugby, all mashed together in a very violent way. And Neil is kind of a runaway, and he's using a fake name to get away from his crime lord father known as the Butcher. And Neil is kind of on a deadline because he's pretty sure that as soon as he signs this contract with this college that he's going to die. But he's gonna have as much fun playing his favorite sport as he can before that happens. So this is one I would highly, highly recommend. It's a fantastic series, but please, 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 please check the trigger warnings for this book series before you dive in, because there are a lot. And I mean a lot, but it's also really good. So, all right, so I think we made it through all 15 books. What are some LGBTQ plus books that you guys would recommend? Let me know down below. If you guys like this video, don't forget the like button. If you haven't already but would like to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to follow me on social media for more bookish stuff, check out the links down below. Alrighty, bye guys.